Hello guys, hope you're doing well. I'm Ollie. If you enjoy a good Reddit story, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I won't stop you. Right then, let's crack on with our first story of the day. The first story comes from It's Jess 925 in the Am I the Asshole subreddit. And it says, Am I the a-hole for refusing to have intimacy with my partner while his family is staying with us and telling his mother exactly why? I, a 33-year-old female, live with my partner, a 35-year-old male. We generally have a good relationship, including a healthy, intimate life, until recently. About 2 months ago, his parents and younger sister came to stay with us temporarily while they dealt with some financial issues. That temporary stay has turned into 8 weeks with no clear end date. They didn't ask me directly. My partner agreed first and told me after. Since they moved in, his mum has completely taken over the house. She rearranged the kitchen, comments on what I eat, and has made several passive-aggressive remarks about me not acting like a wife. We're not married. His sister goes through my things and once walked into our bedroom without knocking when I was getting dressed after showering. Because of all this, I told my partner I was uncomfortable being intimate while they're here. I don't feel relaxed. I don't feel like I have privacy. And frankly, I don't feel respected in my own home. I've still been affectionate, just not interested in intimacy. My partner says I'm punishing him for something that isn't his fault, and that adults should be able to be intimate even if family is around. He also said it's been long enough, and that I should try harder. Things blew up last weekend when his mum confronted me and asked if I was withholding intimacy from her son. I was shocked and told her calmly that yes, I don't feel comfortable being intimate when I'm being judged, invaded, and treated like a guest in my own house. Now his entire family thinks I'm disrespectful, oversharing, and trying to control him. My partner says I embarrassed him and should apologize to his mum for bringing our private life into it. I told him she brought it into it first. He says I'm making a big deal out of nothing, and that intimacy shouldn't stop just because I'm annoyed. I think my comfort and boundaries matter. So, am I the a-hole?
Fiesta Fan 73 says, You are punishing him for something that is absolutely his fault. He moved people into your home without asking. That is his fault. Then he went and cried to his mother that you wouldn't be intimate with him while she was there, which is extremely strange. This guy sounds like someone you might want to avoid. I'd strongly consider the future of this relationship with someone who is overly attached to his mother and does not respect you or your privacy. You are not the a-hole.
A Reddit user says, What? You oversharing? How did the family learn you weren't intimate unless it was your partner? I'm sorry, but you now know what a future looks like with your partner and his family. You should have discussed their essentially moving in. It might be time for you to move out, not the a-hole.
Someone says, You're not the a-hole. Holy crap, you have every right to say no. And who's trying to control who when he thinks he can pressure you into being intimate? And who brought his family into your intimate life? Him. No way. Your partner's a complete dirt. His family are all jerks. I'd be finding somewhere else to live. You don't need to tolerate this disrespectful nonsense.
Some Succotash 6928 says, You're not the a-hole all the way, all day. Sex shouldn't stop just because I'm annoyed. No one is the a-hole, buddy. Sex can and will stop for whatever reason anyone involved in the act wants it to stop. Period. If someone doesn't want to have or continue to have sex for whatever reason, the reason is I don't want the sex, and it is always valid.
Our next story comes from Posting for Advice in the Am I the Asshole subreddit. And it says, Am I the a-hole if I went to a hotel with my kids because of my mother-in-law's behavior with my daughter? I hope this is the right place to post. I apologize for asking on such a short timeline. My husband and I are currently at my in-laws in Houston for the holidays. We live in Atlanta, but we are here to see them for the holidays. Just a bit of context, so my reaction doesn't seem over the top. My mother-in-law always wanted a grandson. She used to say she was praying for one early in my pregnancy with my daughter. My husband and I didn't care. We just wanted our baby to be happy and healthy. After we had her, she kept pushing for us to have another child. My son is 4 months old, and my 2-year-old daughter is such a loving big sister to him. My mother-in-law's behavior towards them is definitely partial. From the amount of Christmas presents she gave to the amount of time and love she shows. Now, these things are her effort to distribute as she wishes, so I didn't say anything. But today, my mother-in-law and I were with my son while my husband was cuddling with my daughter. They have a really close bond, and she's a real daddy's girl. My mother-in-law snapped at him and said to forget her for a bit and give his attention to my son, who needs it. She said it in front of my daughter, who suddenly went quiet and looked confused and hurt. My son had 2 adults with him. He didn't need my husband to turn his attention from my daughter at that time. I said as much, and she replied we're spoiling her to the detriment of our son, and that he needs more attention, and we need to impress boundaries on my daughter. Again, all of this was in front of her. I lost it, took my son and daughter, and went to my husband's room where we're staying.
A few minutes later, my husband came up, apologized for his mum, hugged our daughter and said Granny was having a bad day, but she loves you very much. Don't take it to heart, and so on. I told him I'm seriously considering just booking a hotel for the rest of the time we're here, which is until Saturday. He told me that would make things worse and that he'll talk to her and fix this, so he went downstairs again. But I'm still considering just going. Would that be an impulsive and inconsiderate thing to do? Thank you. Adding this now, he told me he impressed upon her that what she said and did would distance us from her and that things will go smoother now. He said that me leaving with the kids would make our daughter feel like she caused it, which wouldn't be right. I asked him what exactly she said. He mentioned she understood what he was saying, but I asked him exactly what she said, and he just seemed evasive. I've read some comments, and honestly, I'd much rather go back to Atlanta than stay in Houston at a hotel. I'll have to check how that could be done. He was asking me to bring us all back down, and I said I wasn't ready. But he has taken our daughter out with him to make her feel better. Update. Removed link. Mammoth Suit 9357 says, please keep your babies away from this woman. It will only get worse, and it could affect the relationship between the siblings. The sibling relationship is the more important one. It will last long after the grandparents are gone. Your mother-in-law will destroy their relationship by favoring one and teaching your son he is somehow more important than your daughter. Snoo18951 says, you're not the a-hole. Your husband's granny is just having a bad day comment is a bit of a red flag. It's a peacekeeping move that minimizes your daughter's feelings to avoid a fight with his mother. He needs to realize that by not making things worse with his mom, he is making things worse for his daughter. Someone says, just take the kids and cut the visit short. Go home. Granny is an adult. She knew exactly what she was saying. She's an evil, horrible woman, and there's nothing that can be said to excuse her behavior. Not one thing. She needs a very serious year-long time out. If there hasn't been a complete turnaround in her behavior, another year is called for. Original poster. What she said in front of your daughter is awful, but I'd be even more worried about what she says when they're alone. Do not leave this woman alone with either of your children. Not for a second. If you have to battle your husband over this, so be it. Battle away. He's not being tough enough on his mother. He needs to tear her a new one. She needs to be crushed. She's damaging his daughter, and he's willing to give her the chance to do it again. Don't allow it. Take your children and head back to Atlanta.
Hours later, the OP comes with an update and says, my post yesterday had a link that I won't include here. Hi, I wanted to provide an update since some of you had asked. Honestly, I was avoiding it initially because I'd gone against the advice given. My daughter and husband came back last night. He had been showing her around the area and she was happy. My husband said he had made it clear to his mum that the favoritism would not stand, so I chose to stay. This morning, my mother-in-law was extra sweet to my daughter, showing her items around the house and kitchen. It seemed a bit like a fake syrupy sweetness to me, but I thought maybe I'm cynical. She's trying, and my daughter can't tell, so it's all good. And the morning went fine. But after lunch, when we were in the living room, she was telling my daughter her responsibilities as an older sister. That her brother is a baby and younger than her, and she needs to now be a big girl and make sure he's happy. It maybe doesn't sound bad in words, but the tone was one of a lecture. So I just said, Jazzy is a baby too, and tickled her to make her laugh, just kind of putting her at ease and diffusing the tension of the lecture. At this, my mother-in-law said she's just fulfilling her right and responsibility by educating my daughter. That she's her dad's mum and she's earned the right to educate her grandkids. Again, this was said in front of her. That was it for me. Maybe in isolation, it wouldn't have been, but considering yesterday, I told my daughter we'll play with her toys in the room, and took her and my son upstairs. I called my husband and told him what had happened. He kept asking how she said it and the setting. I was just like, I planned to give her an honest chance this morning. Otherwise, I would have done all this yesterday. Trust me when I say she crossed a line. I told him I'm changing our flights to catch the earliest one out. I need him to come with us, or he has to tell our daughter why Daddy isn't coming back home with us. He said he'll come too and sort out the flight. I told him I just want the earliest one whenever it is and told him to come back, as he's out with his friends today. He told me later we fly out early tomorrow morning now. The last flight today was like 2 hours from our call, so it wouldn't be enough time, and he'll be here soon. I'm just packing our stuff up now. I went downstairs a few times to grab some of our stuff. She tried talking to me, telling me to calm down. I just told her he'll talk to her when he comes. I should have listened and just done this yesterday. I deserve any incoming criticism. I'm so angry with myself too. My daughter has had to be in an uncomfortable position twice rather than once because of that. And we could have celebrated New Year's Eve in Atlanta instead of here. Thank you all for the advice. I appreciate it so much. Final update. We're at the airport now waiting for boarding. I thought I'd give my last update now since I'm going to be really tired back at home. When my husband spoke to her, I have to admit that I eavesdropped. I don't know if that makes me an asshole, but it is what it is. It concerned my daughter, so I feel it was okay for me to do it. And if it was super private, they shouldn't have been doing it in the living room. He was really disappointed with his mum, saying they'd gone over this yesterday, that she'd given him her word to drop the favoritism. She denied any favoritism and said I was overreacting and just looking for an excuse to go. Never mind that if that were the case, I would have done this yesterday or 2 days ago now since it's past midnight. She also said if I was the one with the problem, why does everyone have to go? She came up to say goodbye to us before she went to sleep. To her credit, she didn't make a scene in front of my daughter and said her goodbyes to us. She was obviously cold with me, but I mean, that's to be expected. Thanks again for all the help, and a happy 2026. The next story comes from Proof Leadership 370 in the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, Am I the a-hole for leaving my family on Mother's Day to go camping by myself? I have a husband and 2 teenage sons. Every Mother's Day morning, they ask me what I want to do. They don't make any plans ahead of time, and then they expect me to come up with something at the last minute. It's not like I don't give them hints or suggestions ahead of time. They just don't seem to want to bother with it. On top of that, when they do go out with me, they complain the whole time and try to get home as fast as they can. Oftentimes, they complain about my selections to the point where I just choose something else to make them happy. Well, this past weekend, my husband asked me what I wanted to do for Mother's Day this year. I told him some of my ideas, such as hiking or pickleball. He proceeded to roll his eyes and said, Great, there goes my whole weekend. That's it. I give up. If they don't care about spending time with me, then I don't care either. I decided to go do what I want alone with my dog. I'm going camping so I can go trail running and fishing, some of my favourite hobbies. I already reserved a spot at a state park, 5 hours away from my home, for Mother's Day. I'm going to pack up and leave first thing in the morning. Oh, and I'm also buying myself my own gift so I get exactly what I want. Last year they gave me a Thigh Master. I told my youngest son about going camping solo, and he was very excited that he won't have to do anything this weekend. But then he told my husband my plans, and he got pretty angry at me. He shut down and has been giving me the silent treatment since, stomping around the house, sulking. I can't help but feel like I'm robbing them of their chance for Mother's Day by being dramatic or expecting too much. But my feelings have been hurt too many times by their carelessness, and I am over it. I was thinking of telling them that they are welcome to go eat at whatever restaurant they want to on Mother's Day in my honour. That seems to be the only part of the day they like anyways. Am I the a-hole for going off on my own for Mother's Day because I'm sick of my family acting like it's just some giant painful chore?
Successful Seaweed 385 says, You are not the a-hole, and I'm sure you deserve some peace and quiet. Someone says, You're not the a-hole, of course. It's your day. Make it what you want. However, I get the impression that you're married to someone who causes trouble. Your husband sounds like a real piece of work. Is he always this unpleasant? I respectfully suggest that your husband is the problem and that he's turned your sons into problematic individuals as well. You may still have time to save your sons from the influence of their father, but perhaps you're just over it. In that case, Warn them that the girls they want to date may not be as accommodating of their unpleasant behavior as you are towards their father's behavior. If they want to practice some love and empathy, now would be a great time to develop those habits.
A Reddit user says, he proceeded to roll his eyes and say, "Great, there goes my whole weekend. What an ass." I told my youngest son about going camping solo, and he was very excited that he won't have to do anything this weekend. A teen, so that could be expected. You're not the antagonistic one. You're not robbing them of anything. Enjoy your weekend.
Several months later, the OP returns with an update, and she shares, "Am I the a-hole for going camping alone on Mother's Day? Update. It's been almost 2 years since I wrote this post. I've been asked so many times for an update, and I'm finally in an emotional place to give one. I received such good advice and validation from that post. Yes, I did go camping and had an amazing time. I spent 2 days in the forest with my dogs, as free as ever. It was a blast, and I've enjoyed doing it many times since then. All hell broke loose when I got home. My husband was furious with me and greeted me with a wall of rage. He switched between seething silence and screaming at me. I thought that he would have realized the error of his ways and maybe even apologized. The opposite was true. His anger levels skyrocketed. But the worst part was my sons. They were hurt and in tears. Apparently, they had even made me surprise gifts and had plans to take me out. This broke my heart and made me realize that Mother's Day was about them. But I made it about my husband and his reactions instead. I still regret that part deeply and apologize to them about it to this day. This also made me finally face how bad the treatment from my husband had gotten. His only behaviors towards me were rage, freezing me out, and disdain. His attitude was one of self-centered, "What can she do for me?" without any reciprocation or care from his part. One of the comments said that the silent treatment as punishment was abuse. This never occurred to me before and stuck with me. That his behavior was abusive and controlling. What I never mentioned in my original post was that he had begun laying hands on me. It escalated quickly and ended with him choking me over dirty laundry. When the idea occurred to me that this was domestic abuse, I read the book, Why Does He Do That? And it was like a light switch had flipped in my mind and soul. I did my research and followed all of the advice given from the domestic violence organizations and hotlines. I carefully planned my departure in secret and followed through with it after an abusive episode from him to my oldest son. I moved out into a poor quality rental secretly while he was at work. I've spent the past 2 years rebuilding my life from scratch. I had to learn how to think for myself and make my own decisions. It was terrifying, but I was never tempted to go back into that kind of treatment ever again. The freedom is amazing. I can do what I need to without being constantly scared of his anger if I displeased him. I no longer have to listen to criticism of every single thing I do. I've made mistakes in running my own life, but still, they are my own mistakes for me to deal with outside of an environment full of rage and shame. The peace and freedom have been amazing, and I can never give it up. Again, the hardest part has been my sons. I love them deeply and hate how hurt they were by the whole situation. I've worked hard to rebuild my relationship with them and try to repair the damage. I can invest so much more energy and time into them now that my life doesn't run around my, now ex-husband's, emotions. I guess the moral of the story is that sometimes what seems like a small thing can turn out to be the final blow and trigger for a much bigger and rougher situation. To all domestic violence victims out there, read that book, follow good advice, do your research, and jump off that cliff. If you can survive the abuse, you will thrive without it.
Someone says, as a man who was raised by a mother who was abused, and we were as well, I applaud your decision. Once your sons realize this, they will too. I am always happy to hear when women escape from abusive men. I wish you the best, and I know your sons will be there for you. Even Speech 570 says, I'm glad you got out, but where are your kids? Are they with you? OP responds, my oldest son started college and sees his father whenever he wishes. He lived with me during his senior year before he left for school. My youngest son was never a target of abuse due to a private condition. He splits his time between his father and me. I've also placed him in therapy. They both love their father very much and have limited knowledge of the extent of his abuse. I have spent a lot of time protecting them and want them to figure out their own relationships with their father without my influence.
It's been tricky arranging the plans with them, but I am very conscious of supporting them while not pitting them against their dad and making them choose sides. Children of abusive parents still love the abuser very much. A person can be very abusive to one person, yet still have good qualities in other areas. That is the hardest part of realizing abuse. The abuser doesn't fit into a defined category. They can still have redeeming qualities in one aspect, but act terribly in another. It is a very mixed feelings situation. My sons still struggle with anger towards me for leaving and breaking up the family. They were raised to think this was a normal relationship, and to them, I left for no reason. Sometimes I think it is easier and safer for them to direct their anger towards me instead of their father. All I can do is love them, support them, answer their questions honestly, and let them form their own opinions. It's hard to undo a whole childhood in just a few years, but I will keep working at it little by little and hope for the best.